Ciao jewelry making friends, my name is Joey Balestrieri. Welcome to my channel and to my work table. Today I am diving into a little earring project and a pendant project using the June 2024 dollar bead box and dollar bead bag. They are two separate subscriptions and it's a club. For those of you who are new, once you subscribe to either or the bag or the box, then you are a member of the club and you can go on the website and repurchase any of the strands or the items for $1. So if you are new and you're interested in this as a resource for your own supplies, I'll put a link in the description box below with my code and you can get a discount from your first subscription. And if you're not interested in doing a monthly subscription, you can pay an annual fee to be a member of the club and then shop the website. So it is really wonderful, filled with check glass findings, crystals, check glass pearls. It's a really great website, and for the month of June they outdid themselves. They did a summer colors mix, and it's a combination of like citrus and fruit colors and flowers. And so what I have done is picked out some of my favorite beads from the box and the bag. I'm mixing them together, and I went into my own stash and pulled out some of my favorite things to work with, which are these beautiful O beads. These are little check glass little O beads that can be used for bead weaving, but I love them as spacers. And then I've also pulled in some things from Purity Beads. It's a company that I found at a bead show about a year ago, and I love their products. They are very high quality with brass as the base for the metals, and then the coating, the plating I meant to say, and then an e-coating that makes them anti-tarnish. So I absolutely love the chains, the findings. This is one of the things that they make. A lot of the designs for the beads and things are exclusive to Purity Beads. And so like they look like 14 karat gold. The quality is amazing and I just love them. This is a Purity Beads bracelet, the little bars here, and I have a video on this. I can link it below if you didn't see it and you're interested. But I really love them, and it's exciting. I am the first YouTuber to bring Purity Beads to YouTube, and I also have a discount code with their website. So if you like any of the findings, like these little bumpy spacers, are pretty classic staple items for jewelry makers. But I'm gonna do a chain and a pendant and use some of the leftover chain for some earring drops. It's going to be a really fun project, and you know, like fresh summer colors, and I'm really excited about it because as we get into hotter weather, I live in a tropical climate. I want to look cool and polished and pulled together, which is not always easy to do when you're melting. So this kind of jewelry kind of helps me to feel that way, you know, not wear too much because it's warm. So I'm going to dive in to my first pair of earrings. I selected two of these little check glass bicone beads. They're in a orange and white swirl, and each one is different, but I selected two of those for my first pair of earrings. And then I'm gonna just dump these out because I loved these little rondelle spacers. They're a little different shade of orange, but I just love the mix of the oranges and yellows and greens that were in this box. So that is just such a beautiful little bead. And I am going to use these ball head pins that I got from Purity Beads. They have that anti-tarnish coating and they are brass, and I just love the quality of them. And so I am just going to kind of create a little so I am just going to play pattern a little bit here, if you will. Just a little pattern play and come up with a design that I like. That is really pretty. I am happy with that. So I'm having a little problem with my hand today. So I'm going to use my smallest size. There are 3 sizes of this one-step looper. I'm going to use the 1.5 millimeter and just feed my head pin all the way through the tool, through the back, and just close it slightly. And I just want to pull this away from the jaw of the plier about 1 millimeter and just gently close it. And I'll pull my beads and everything away before I close the tool all the way. And now I can see that by pulling it down, I have centered my wire with my design on that loop. And when I take it away, I have this absolutely perfect loop. Beautiful little drop. And I have actually been saving, these are 2.5-inch head pins, and I've actually been saving the leftovers because I can get another little component out of this. And it's such high quality metal, the brass with the coating, that I don't want to lose those. And so let's see. I am going to, I don't want my earrings to be too long, so I'm just going to put this on maybe 4 links of chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This chain from Purity Beads is solid, so I do have to lose a link. So I'm going to cut this one right here. Get that little This is so easy and just, you know, a quick pair of earrings. Any skill level can do this, but just lovely, elegant. I mean, it looks like, you know, fine jewelry, like so much more, something you buy in a boutique or a jewelry shop, so much more than what it is. That is beautiful. I love it. Now, I was thinking to use my interchangeable ear wires, but I don't usually like to do that when I have a chain. I mean, they're not terrible to thread on to an interchangeable ear wire. I actually really like that. Maybe I will. I'll try it this way. I may end up adding it to another pair of ear wires that's permanent, but these are my gold-filled interchangeable lever back ear wires, and I keep a few pairs of these in my jewelry wardrobe, and then when my boxes come in or when I decide to do an earring blast, some of them I make and give away, but the ones for myself, I don't need an ear wire every single time. I love this little earring. I really love this little earring. It's not hard to take it on and off. So for now, I'm going to leave this for the for my lever back ear wires, but you know, that's the nice thing about making our own jewelry. You can always go back and change your mind. So I'm going to set aside all the little elements that I will need for my second earring, and I'll do that one off camera. Let's see, I used 3 of these in that earring, and I used 1 of those and my ball head pin. Okay, so these are my little, oh, and I'll go ahead and cut my chain too. Cut my 4 links of chain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, my second earring is ready to go. And you know, like with your scrap chain, I mean, if you're only using 4 or 6 links, you can make so many pairs of earrings out of your leftover chain, so I don't throw anything away. Okay, next pair, I am going to jump to this pair here, and my idea for this is to use some 22 gauge wire, and let me unleash all these beads. I definitely won't need them all, but I always find that I design better and have more ideas, and when I can play with the beads and, you know, move them around when they're all off the strand, I just do better work when I can kind of, you know, touch them. So I have a little length of 22 gauge wire here, And I am going to smooth and kind of warm it, although it's not going to need to do much. I'm just going to create a little pattern with these fire polished beads. I think these were called lemonade. I can't remember what these were called, but I just love these beads. I think they're so pretty. They have a little bit of variation in color, and what I'm going to do is just create a little pattern. Let me see this scrap of chain. I'm just going to create a little pattern, just kind of play with my pattern here, and then feed them up. This part is going to be a teardrop, and it's going to go up into that facing forward. So let's see how that looks. That's pretty. So the little pattern that kind of unfolded for me here was this being my center or focal, and then 3 of the little fire polished beads, a little dot of gold, 2 fire polished beads, a dot of gold, and then 1. So 3, 2, 1, and repeat the same thing on the other side. And I am just going to kind of curve this into a little teardrop, just really, really gently. Just get a little teardrop shape going. Just pull it together. The 22 gauge wire is really easy to work with. Just form that little shape. And I am going to give that a twist to hold it in place. And now this little wire that's going straight up is where I'm going to feed this bead onto. And let's see how I like that. I do like that. And what my idea was to bring, I left the longer wire here because I want to bring it around and make a spiral, right? I can either make it for the center of my teardrop, or I can lay it up on my bead. And so at this point, I'm going to do a little wire wrapped loop. So I am going to, my pliers fell on the floor. I'm going to put a 90-degree bend in my wire. I want this all to be facing forward. So before I tighten my loop down, I will make sure that everything is facing the way that I want. So that little 90-degree bend. And I'll just put, I'm going to do a fairly small loop, put toward the end of my round nose pliers. Just wrap that wire around, rotate my pliers out of my way, and then I just like to roll my wrist so that my loop is centered. And when I take it away, I have a really nice loop. And then I'll get a hold of it with my bent chain nose pliers and lock it into place and just wrap down to my bead. I have left this wire hanging out here, so it's in my way a little bit, but that's okay. So I have a little bit of space there, so that's what I'm doing, is I want to fill in the space on the core wire right down to my little orange bead. so that it's secure facing forward. But I'm not putting any pressure on the bead. I'm just securing it facing forward. And so you have to determine with each wire wrap if you want to like wrap it all the way down like I'm doing, or it's a little tricky to tuck that final in, but you can snip it off too. But I kind of like using the whole length of it. So there is my beginning of my earring, and now I'm going to kind of use my thumb and hold on to this and get it around a couple of times. Get it right around to the front. I'm going to use these pliers and just straighten that up. You can do like a messy wrap with this design if you like that look. I tend to make everything like super neat. And just going to use my finger and just kind of get this the shape that I want. Get my little teardrop going the way I want. Little hand sculpting. Okay, I love that. And now with this little wire that I left hanging out, I can either decide to kind of wrap up this bead to add a little gold wire presence across the bead, or what I was planning to do was make a spiral, and then I can either lay the spiral up or let it hang down. So let's get the spiral in there. You know, sometimes when I'm designing, I just don't exactly know what it's going to be, but I do know that that's much too much wire. I'm going to do about that much, and I am just going to start right at the tip, make a little loop, and I'll switch to these pliers and just push it against my finger, gently rolling it all the way down to the end of this wire. Okay, so now I can either push it down here or push it up, and I have to decide which way I like it, and I think I'm going to go for the up. And at this point I will get my nylon jaw pliers, because I don't want to put any undue pressure, but I do want to snug that wire up to my bead. So you can use your nylon jaw pliers, fingers. This is 22 gauge wire, so it's pretty forgiving, pretty easy to move around, I meant. And look at that, so pretty. I love that little earring. That is absolutely gorgeous. And then again, I don't need an ear wire every single time. This can go right on my lever back earrings, and just beautiful. What summer elegance. I love that. Really love that. Okay, so let me set aside the things that I will need. 3, 4, 5. I need 12 of these for my second earring. Now I'm going to move to this yellow pair, and I had this little pair of gold plated brass little ear hooks with a little cubic zirconia in them, and I've been dying to put something on them, and I just thought that this yellow glass with that gold would be really pretty. These beads are stunning. I don't know, they're really small, but this is a crystal on the outside, and the color is encased in that little faceted crystal. It's such a pretty bead. So I think I'm going to do something similar that I did here. In fact, I am pretty sure I'm not going to use these orange beads. I think one pair of orange earrings, and I'm going to switch to yellow. Okay, same thing. Can't make anything if you don't unleash the beads. I hope you guys can kind of see. I just looked in my camera lens and I realized that this yellow is really almost the same color as my matte. It's blending in with my matte really well. So I'll try to make sure that as I work that I hold everything up to the camera. So I have another little piece of that same 22 gauge wire, and let's see. I know this is going to be my focal. This is what's called a squishy bicone bead. It's check glass. Isn't that cool? It's such a pretty bead, and I kind of like the idea of it floating there. And then let's see if I want to do, these are really pretty. These have like an AB finish on them, but they're kind of yellow and gold. They have a few colors in this tiny little O bead. For such a small bead, it's really stunning. Look at that. It's so gorgeous. Let's see. I think I'll try these little gold spacers on this, a little bit bigger. Beautiful. Look how pretty that is. So I think that's what I will do, is do another little teardrop. Beautiful. And maybe oh, I love that. Okay, so I'm going to, I think that's going to give me the length I want, and I'm just going to repeat that same pattern on this side. My idea on this one was just hoops, so I think I'm going to go for that. I think I'm going to just draw these together, and here's where you could make a circle. You could really make any shape that you want. You know, the trick for these earrings is really going to be making the second earring match the first one. Like, making the first earring is fun, you just make it, but it's matching the other one that can be a little bit tricky. But you know, I'll be able to do it. I just thought I would do the design with you on camera, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Just get a hold of it. You can either twist here. I think I'm going to just kind of start what we would do for a wire wrapped loop, just to hold everything in place. So I just brought one wire down because I still want to play with my shape a little bit before I really secure everything down. Okay, now I'm just gonna get a hold of this without putting any stress on my beads. Let me do it this way. I think I'm going to make a little bit of a like a little bit of a downward drop on these. That looks great. Okay, I'm going to just trim this, and I like to tuck my wires around to the back. And now I'm just going to let me tighten up my coils a little bit. Now I'm just going to do a wire wrapped loop, and I'm going to wrap right down to those coils that I did. Just put a nice small loop there, and same thing, wrap it around, center my loop, make sure everything's straight and centered. And now I'm just going to wrap right down. I have to finish tucking that once I have my other there. And I'm just going to wrap right down. And I have wire left over, so here's where, you know, in the design you can decide if you want to simply cut it off or a coil, you know, kind of decide what you want it to look like. And for me, I love doing those little spirals. Just love it. And that would be really pretty, a spiral in there. So I think I'm going to use this little piece of wire. I'm going to bring it around right on top of what I've already done. Come back here, and before my spiral is in, and just tuck everything in. Okay, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the rest of my length of wire and make a little spiral. Just spiral it down towards my earring, and then I'll decide which direction I want to lay it down on. Just pushing the wire against my finger, my thumb. Oh, that is so pretty. That is so pretty. I love this little earring. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I really, really love that. And so this can slip right on. Wow, look at that. And then all I have to do is just really gently close this little ear wire, this little loop on the back of this ear wire. Just close it really well so my 22 gauge wired loop doesn't slip out. Look at that. Isn't that so pretty? I love that one too. Okay, I'm going to set everything that I need aside. I'll make my next earring off camera. At the end of the video, I'll make sure that I put up some pictures of the pairs. So I am onto my pendant, and I have this beautiful chain from Purity Beads. I just love their products, and I have a few necklaces in my jewelry wardrobe that are just chains that I have chosen a clasp for, and I like to do that especially as we go into hotter weather because these are so lightweight and easy. And this one, I have cut it around 30 inches long, and I have this little gold filled clasp, but I can actually pull this right over my head. I believe I'll be able to. And I am literally just going to put a little clasp with these little jump rings on the end of this little length of chain, and then I'm planning to use this little element, this little drop from Purity Beads and one of the check glass beads and some of my leftover things, and just make a pendant that coordinates with my earrings. And then I'll have this in my jewelry wardrobe, and as I get the boxes for this season, I can just put large bails or large jump rings on pendants and have an interchangeable chain. And I have a couple of these in my jewelry wardrobe, and I really do wear them a lot. So it's just something that I really like to do. So I have these gold-filled jump rings, and I just keep a supply of higher quality findings in my stash. Sometimes jewelry can just be fun, but sometimes when I make something, I really would like to have it for a long time. So I just up my game a little bit. So I'm just going to add the jump ring onto one side of this chain, and I can give you a link if any of you are interested. I have used these before, so you may, if you've been around my channel, you may have already, seen this, but these are Amazon products, so the price is not terrible, but you're just upgrading your findings a little bit. So I keep these gold filled. I've replenished my supply a couple of times with these gold filled. It's an assortment of different sizes and shapes, and so I like those. And then I have a couple of different, I have diamond cut gold filled jump rings, and then these plain ones, and I really love them, and they pretty much have fit on everything. So this is going to be the loop that my lobster clasp grabs onto. Just make sure it's closed really well. I honestly probably won't use the clasp very much on this, just pull it over my head. But so my chain is ready to go, and the reason I did this first is that whatever loop I make for my pendant, I just want to make sure it's large enough to slide over this jump ring. So I wanted to have that ready first so that I can test it. And I know that I wanted to use one of these bicone beads. I love that shape. I am going to take one of my 2.5-inch head pins from Purity Beads. It actually matches. It's the brass base with the same gold finish. So I'm going to take one of these and cut the little ball off the end, and that is going to be what I create my pendant on. I could have used my wire that I've used for other things, but then this way everything matches. So I'm just going to put my wire just past the back jaw of the plier. I don't need to go all the way through the guide hole because that would just waste wire. And then gently close it, and it's going to make a nice clean cut and wrap my wire and give me a simple loop. So as I said, I'm having a little pain in my hand today. So if you don't have the one-step looper, or you just hate it, because I hear people either love it or hate it, you can get your simple loops in any way that works for you. Once your piece is finished, nobody knows your method. But I'm just going to open this loop and add my leaf drop to it and close it really well, and that is the start of my pendant. And then I'm just using elements that were left over. I'm just going to make a little stack, just stack some beads, just use some elements that were left over and create a little pattern. And then I am going to do a very large wire wrapped loop on this end. So I know that I need the orientation of my loop to be going front to back so that it will hang nicely on my chain. So I'm going to give myself I'm going to give myself a little bit more space on here because I have to do such a huge loop, and I'm just going to bend my wire backwards basically. And then I'm going to use my 6-step bail making plier, and I need to have a really large bail, so I think I'm going to be okay with this second to large one. And so I'm going to, let me turn it this way, I'm going to put my wire in there and make sure my little beads are out of the way, and just kind of it's really oversized, so I'm just going to fit it in there. So I decided I didn't really have enough of this 2.5-inch head pin to do a wire wrapped loop, and so I just decided to do this funky little bail that's kind of a version of a simple loop. So it looks like that. It's closed really well, and because this is brass, I feel like it's going to be really secure, and then I shouldn't have any problem getting my jump ring through this little bail. And actually this bail, it's so simple. This is kind of a minimalist design, but the bail is just so simple that it really kind of adds to the whole look of the pendant. Like, it just is, the bail is just part of the whole thing. So I just think that is so pretty. So I am going to pause the camera, make my other earrings for each one that we designed together, and I will put some pictures at the end of the video. And I thank you so much for choosing my video today. If you're interested in checking out the Dollar Bead Club, subscribing to the bead box or the bead bag, they are two separate subscriptions. I will leave that in the description box below. And I really encourage you to check out the Purity Beads website. You can use my link to the website and my code and get a discount from your first order. I think you'll be really impressed if you have not checked them out yet at the offerings, the chain, the beads, the findings. They are just beautiful. And you know, you have beautiful beads to work with from the Czech Republic, or you know, I have some from Italy, but then when you add in these kinds of findings, you just instantly elevate your work. So I'll leave links to anything I think you're might be interested in for your own work in the description box. And I thank you so much for watching. If you haven't emailed me pictures of your little furry-faced, feathered, or gilled helpers that are around your work tables, I would love to have them for the end of my videos here and there. And I hope everyone is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry making friends.